Prince Harry and Meghan Markle sharing a private picture of their so-called private children, Archie and Lily, on their so-called private vigil to lay flowers at Princess Diana's grave for the first time.
Harry will lobby the Home Secretary for security, with sources saying he's looking to arrange further meetings with the King to allow him to spend more time with his grandchildren.
This really tells 1,000 words, doesn't it? This is, of course, a picture of Princess Lilibet. That is, of course, Harry's daughter. And very nicely, all thanks to his wife, who has a terrible aversion to the world of social media.
The other thing about the Althorpes visit, Dan, is that they're not particularly close with Diana's brother. He did get married in the States, and they were not there.
She won't step foot in her father's house, won't return his calls, won't let him meet his grandchildren. But when Diana, dead for 30 years, needed a memorial visit, suddenly she had photographers ready. William just revealed what this really was, and it's worse than anyone expected.
Meghan Markle takes what should be a solemn and private family moment and exploits it for clicks and money. It's so incredibly disgusting, and I can't help but imagine Prince William would be incensed. There's nothing wrong with them visiting Diana's grave, but why did she have to disrespect Harry and her children by posting about it?
Let's start with something that's bothered people for years. Something that reveals everything you need to know. Meghan has a father. His name is Thomas Markle. He's still alive. He's still calling her. Still hoping for contact. Still wanting to know his grandchildren. And she ignores him completely. Won't visit him. Won't bring the kids to meet him. Music acts like he's an embarrassment she needs to hide from the world.
What about Thomas Markle? Does he not get a look in? If she's so keen, Harry, with his father recovering from cancer and still having treatment, the other side, repair the family connections, however hard it might be. And the Markle family is as dysfunctional at times, maybe even more so.
The man wants basic family connection. She's made it crystal clear he's not important enough. He's not rich enough. He's not famous enough. He doesn't fit the narrative she's trying to build. But Diana's been dead for 30 years, been in the ground at Althorpe for 3 decades. Music, her body rested in that cemetery for 3 entire decades. Suddenly, Meghan can't get to that grave fast enough. Professional photographers hired. Timing coordinated perfectly. Every single moment staged with precision. Multiple takes, perfect poses, designer clothing, everything controlled. Reports
one image shows Harry, Archie, and Lily from behind as they walk down a grassy path lined with trees and hedges. The photo is believed to have been taken at Althorpe, the Spencer family's ancestral estate where Diana grew up. Harry and Archie are both seen carrying large bouquets, prompting speculation that the family may have visited Diana's burial site, which is located on an island in the middle of the estate's oval lake.
Charles Spencer, Diana's own brother, didn't hold back. He looked at what happened and said it directly. This was purely for publicity. That's not an assumption. That's not speculation. That's Diana's blood brother looking at the grave photos and calling it what it is, a publicity stunt, a photo opportunity, a production using his sister's final resting place.
During the family's recent visit to the UK, they stayed at the 13,000-acre Northamptonshire estate as guests of Harry's uncle, Charles Spencer. The trip gave Archie and Lily the opportunity to spend time at a place so closely tied to their late grandmother, who died in a car crash in Paris in 1997 when Harry was 12. While at Althorpe, the Sussexes are also believed to have spent time with other members of the Spencer family. Princess Diana's grave is located on a small island in the middle of Althorpe's oval lake and is not accessible to the public. Her brother Charles Spencer wrote in his book that its remoteness was intentional, with the lake acting as a buffer against the interventions of the insane and ghoulish, the thick mud, presenting a further line of defence.
Here's what cuts deeper than the obvious hypocrisy. William lost his mother. He walked behind her coffin at 15 years old. He knows what genuine grief looks like because he's lived it. He knows what honoring Diana's memory actually means because he's been protecting it his entire adult life. When William found out about this grave visit, about the professional cameras, about the meticulous staging, about the carefully timed release, he confirmed it immediately. No hesitation, no diplomatic equivocation, no trying to see both sides. He said, "This was purely for publicity." That validation matters because William isn't speaking from speculation. He's speaking from knowing Diana, from loving Diana, from protecting Diana's memory for 3 decades. He's speaking from understanding what respect actually looks like. That's the voice people needed to hear. That's someone with real authority, real connection, real moral standing drawing the line.
That Prince William's strongly held and deeply passionate view is that this site must remain sacred. Hands posted just when you think Meghan can't be any more despicable, she goes ahead and proves us wrong. Who shares pics of a private moment that looks like they're visiting Diana's gravesite? There's Harry and Archie carrying flowers. Have some respect and keep it private. Disgusting, no shame. The Mail then went on to report that they did believe this to be all Thorpe, with their diary editor Richard Eden writing, "It is understood to have been taken as they made their way to lay flowers at the grave of Princess Diana."
For years, literal years, there's been this carefully constructed narrative. We want privacy for our children. We're protecting them from the media. Media is dangerous. We would never exploit our kids for attention. Diana's memory is sacred to us. Her rest should be protected forever. Year after year. Privacy. Music, this protection that's sacred everything. Interviews about the struggle of public life. Statements about respecting boundaries. Documentaries about why they had to step back and protect their family. Books about the invasion. Podcasts about media trauma. Music, everything centered on this one message. We value privacy above all else.
Would now use Charles Spencer's words directly to describe the acts of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. You too are insane and ghoulish. You too have no respect for Princess Diana's resting place. And also all of us who have to put up with your constant briefings about privacy. And then you post the most intimate photos that we have never seen of members of the royal family unless they've been taken by paparazzi. Like, no, we don't want to see Meghan's ass cheeks, okay, while she's watching her children in the water. Please.
Then she posts photos from Diana's grave. Think about that for a second. You can't spend 5 years telling the entire world that privacy is your top priority, music, and then post photographs from a private cemetery where a family member is buried. You can't claim repeatedly that you would never exploit your children and then use your family for attention. You can't say Diana's memory is sacred and then commercialize a visit to her resting place for profit. This isn't mere inconsistency. This is deliberate contradiction. This is knowing exactly what you're doing and doing it anyway. Because the privacy claims were never actually about protecting anything. They were about control. They were about managing the narrative. They were about controlling who saw what and when.
This is Althorpe. So I didn't catch this at first, but this picture is clearly taken from Althorpe, which is Diana's childhood estate there, confirming that they were in the UK for the naysayers out there. I double checked. This is definitely within the garden, but it definitely is. They are at the estate, so this does confirm that the kids and Harry and everybody were in the UK. I never doubted that, but others did, so now we have some confirmation.
When it suited her, when attention was available, when a Netflix deal was on the table, when significant profit was possible, the privacy suddenly stopped mattering. That's what people can't get past. Not just the hypocrisy itself, though that's infuriating, but knowing she did it anyway. Knowing she made that cold calculation and chose profit over principle, chose attention over privacy, chose money over the value she claimed mattered most. Every previous statement about privacy now feels like a lie told for strategic advantage. Every interview about boundaries becomes performative theater. Every claim about protecting the children rings completely hollow. She proves she'll say anything publicly if it serves her interests privately. And once someone proves that, trust doesn't come back. You don't believe them again. You can't.
There's nothing wrong with them visiting Diana's grave, but why did she have to disrespect Harry and her children by posting about it? This is a woman who's claimed for years that all she wants for her family is privacy, and then she commoditizes her children and the memory of her deceased mother-in-law for the world to see. This, perhaps more than anything else, exposes what a hypocrite and liar Meghan is. It also reveals the disdain she has for her mother-in-law, who is everything she isn't. Probably the last thing in the world Diana saw was the flashes of the camera, and now here is her daughter-in-law trampling on her memory with a camera in tow for her own greed.
This wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't a family moment where someone grabbed their phone emotionally. Wasn't something that just happened organically. This was a planned production, professional, coordinated, executed. Professional photographers showed up. Multiple photographers, not one casual photographer friend, trained professionals with equipment. They took different angles, different poses from different positions. The lighting was carefully considered. The positioning was exact, the composition deliberate. This is what a professional photo shoot looks like. And that's exactly what this was.
Now, I don't know about you, it seems a bit odd, in my opinion, that you would want to post a picture like that of a little girl. Of course, what you have to remember is, and this is the difference between these two, seemingly time and time again, they want to make sure to the rest of the world that they're not forgetting Harry's mother. Do not forget also, Harry famously said that he got upset when people could not see the similarities between Diana, the Princess of Wales, and of course the cable TV actress Meghan Markle.
There's a reason every single photo was usable. Reason the quality was broadcast ready. Reason the entire set of images looked so polished and professional. Because it wasn't candid family photography, it was coordinated production. Security at Althorpe had to approve access. Clearance had to be arranged in advance. Timing had to be scheduled. This required planning, serious coordination, money, resources, preparation. People miss that critical distinction when they hear she visited the grave. That's not what actually happened. Music. She arranged a professional photo shoot at a private cemetery, got security clearance from the estate, brought trained photographers with equipment, and documented every moment for commercial use. That's not visiting. That's production. That's media manufacturing.
The shot of Althorpe is just, it kind of makes your stomach turn a little bit. I mean, obviously there are people in my family who are no longer with us, and I do go visit their graves, and I might take a photo of the gravestone, but I don't know. No, you don't do like the family outing to go see the grave on private property. Not to mention, I think it's really interesting.
The sophistication of this matters because she didn't just show up with her family. She managed perception with professional precision. She understood media narrative completely. She controlled the story with calculated precision. The photos look spontaneous because she's skilled at making production feel real. It's a craft. She knows how to do this. This wasn't accidental, wasn't a mistake, wasn't something that just happened. This was calculated from the very beginning. Every detail was controlled. Every angle was chosen specifically. Every timing was deliberate and strategic.
Diana's brother, the Earl, had said no cameras. And by that, he meant no camera crews. But he clearly didn't mean a camera phone, which means, of course, when they went over to the island, there was obviously a camera phone with them. Is there photos? Are there videos? You know, we've all heard talk of the Diana documentary.
That's what makes people angry beyond just the basic violation. Not that it happened, but that she knew exactly what she was doing. She understood the violation completely. She understood the hypocrisy. She understood that Diana's family would see this. She understood that William would see this. She understood that people would recognize the contradiction with everything she'd said about privacy. Music, she did it anyway, knowingly, willingly, deliberately.
Why?
Why hire photographers? Why stage everything perfectly? Why coordinate directly with Netflix? Because there's significant money in it, real money, substantial profit. Netflix has a 30th anniversary Diana documentary project in active development. They need footage. They need images. They need original content. They specifically need it to be cinematic quality. That's what Netflix requires, professional material that viewers will watch.
That Harry is thinking of doing next year for the 30th anniversary of her death, which is also incredibly ghoulish. And we also know that the Netflix Harry and Meghan doc had a bunch of their home videos, and by that I mean their phone videos, on them. So this would likely be appearing there.
This would likely be appearing there. Meghan has access to Diana's resting place. She has family connection. She has historical legitimacy. She has something Netflix desperately needs. We're talking about $7 million in documentary revenue. $7 million. That's not pocket money. That's significant income. That's worth hiring professional photographers. Worth arranging security clearance. Worth coordinating everything down to the minute. Music, and here's the part that drives people insane. She gets paid for this directly. This isn't just theoretical documentary revenue. She receives production fees, participation payments, direct monetary compensation for being part of the commercial project.
The pictures that they need to secure for the documentary next year do not actually have to be filmed by a camera crew. Because, of course, one of the main reasons why Netflix was so happy with the Harry and Meghan documentary, which, remember, was a hit. It's the only show that has been a hit as part of their Netflix package, was because Harry and Meghan had to, and it was for the big paycheck, not 100 mil, but still a very big paycheck, had to guarantee that they were going to open up their personal photo album. And we saw a lot as a result. Remember, there were the videos on the Freedom Flight, and there were the videos even on the night of the engagement. All of them were included in the documentary.
So, she's not using Diana's grave for attention. She's literally being paid to use Diana's grave. She's monetizing a cemetery visit. She's profiting from her dead mother-in-law's grave. That changes everything about the situation. This isn't honoring Diana. This is profit. Everyone understands it. The numbers are too specific. The money trail too clear. The financial incentives too obvious. Netflix knew exactly what they were doing. They knew these photos were coming. The timing was coordinated between them. The production was planned together. This wasn't Netflix discovering footage. This was Netflix ordering it. This was commercial arrangement. And that's the transaction that occurred. Meghan provided grave photos for Netflix revenue. Netflix provided payment for commercializing Diana's death. Both sides understood the arrangement completely. Both sides benefited financially. The grave becomes content. Diana becomes product. Her memory becomes asset. And profit wins over respect. Money wins over family. Attention wins over decency. Music, that's the fundamental transaction that happened.
Interesting this, because do you remember a while back, Prince Harry basically said no, he had no plans to put together a documentary about his late mother for next year, which would have been the terribly sad 30th anniversary. I don't know about you, I cannot believe it. It sounds odd, doesn't it? But in many respects, of course it has to be 30 years. That's where the time goes. I often think about people like Diana and think, wow, the things that they've missed. I mean, not just Diana, but everybody, the things that we've gone through, the inventions.
When experts looked at the situation, nobody disagreed about what actually happened. Charles Spencer, Diana's brother, was direct and clear. This was purely for publicity. This was disrespectful to her memory. No equivocation, no wondering. He knew immediately because he knows his sister. Body language experts broke down the photographs in detail. Music, every single pose was calculated. Not one spontaneous moment captured. Every angle was chosen deliberately. Every gesture was considered. This is what obsessive preparation looks like. This is what production looks like. Protocol experts confirmed this violates centuries of royal tradition. Royal cemeteries are sacred spaces. They're not photo locations. They're music, not content sites. This was literally unprecedented. No one in royal family history had ever done this before. No one had ever used a family grave as a photo shoot location.
So my contention is that all of these photos and videos for the documentary will have been taken personally by Harry and Meghan, which they believe gives them some type of out in terms of, oh no, well, we weren't really commercializing the visit. These were our own personal memories, and we've just decided to share them. But actually, that's not what's happened, Paula, because the only reason that they made this visit was in order to secure those pictures. Because remember, they didn't want to make this visit because it goes against, and we'll come to this later, but it goes against what they've wanted to achieve in terms of the security.
A professional photographer confirmed the entire setup was professional. There's simply no way this happens without coordination and planning. This is professional production, period. Music, Then there's the psychological layer that nobody wants discussing but must be addressed. Meghan has been obsessed with Diana for years. Wears Diana's iconic swimsuits. Mimics Diana's poses. Studies Diana's photographs consistently. Speaks about Diana constantly. Wants people seeing her like Diana. Wants the comparison. This isn't just visiting a grave. This is someone trying to inhabit Diana's identity. This is obsession, not.
A lot of people believe, and you seem to suggest it, that this was her purposefully cosplaying Princess Diana. So Stephanie Sidley, for example, writing, Meghan Markle is wearing the same cut swimsuit Princess Diana was famous for. The Royal Grift describing it as absolutely mental, and Meghan's moles saying that it's psycho stalker behaviour. Again, Paul, if this were a one-off, you'd probably give the person benefit of the doubt, right? But given this is now like such a trend, I do believe it's purposeful. Do you?
Of course. Of course it is. We could go through the last, 8-10 years of all the outfits she's copied of Diana's. And, it's actually quite, what's the word? Oedipal and weird. It's almost as if she's trying to remind Harry, I'm mummy.
Harry's reportedly concerned about this obsession. Even he's noticed how far this has gone. Years of building, escalating. Music. This grave visit wasn't the beginning of the obsession. This was the culmination. This was the public manifestation. The obsession pattern is well documented. Years of outfit copying, years of pose mimicking, years of Diana references. This grave visit is the public explosion of something that's been happening privately for years. So, when hearing experts say this was wrong, understand what that really means. Everyone Diana's family, royal historians, body language specialists, psychologists, protocol experts looked at this and said the same thing. This crosses a fundamental line. There's no professional who looked at these photos and said, this is fine. Nobody. Not one person in any relevant field. The professional consensus is unanimous. This was wrong. This violated standards. This crossed boundaries. That matters. That's not opinion or speculation. That's expertise confirming what people already felt intuitively.
Now, Harry was very adamant that they were not putting together a documentary. But at the time, I told you I'd spoken to a higher source inside the Netflix camp. This was, of course, when Netflix were very keen on Meghan and Harry. And they quite liked Meghan and Harry at this time because obviously they'd had a big hit with their docuseries where they trashed his family, not hers. And ultimately, they were deciding what they could do next.
This isn't social media anger that fades away in a week. This isn't tabloid headlines that disappear in the news cycle. This is institutional response. Real institutional response. William didn't stay silent about this. He spoke. King Charles didn't dismiss it as family drama. He's music taking action. Real action. Not just public statements or diplomatic comments. Behind closed doors, serious boundaries are being set. Important conversations are happening. Palace legal team is actively involved. If Netflix documentary uses footage from Diana's grave, titles are on the table. We're not discussing threats or hypotheticals or political positioning. We're discussing the real possibility that titles could actually be stripped. The King of England doesn't make those suggestions lightly. He's showing her clearly there are actual consequences for this. Netflix knows it. They're being informed directly and indirectly that using this material comes with real cost.
Charles Spencer is certainly not close with Prince William. And so it's also an opportunity to get one over Prince William. It suits Harry. So, look, I don't want to go into it today, but, Charles Spencer, not a good guy. Do you know what I mean? So like,
no, just ask any of the women in his life besides his current wife.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So it sort of suits them both to have this friendship, I guess, or relationship of convenience.
So the documentary that was supposed to launch is delayed, maybe canceled entirely. That $7 million payday disappearing fast. The deal is falling apart. This is institutional power saying no. Not just fans angry online. Not just social media outrage. The Crown making a serious decision. When institutional power moves like this, things actually change. Harry and Meghan are learning what many never learned. There actually are limits. There actually are lines you can't cross. There actually are consequences that matter in the real world. This is real accountability, not the social media kind that fades. Music, the kind affecting income, affecting titles, affecting standing, affecting future prospects. And that's what separates this from previous situations. Previously, they weathered storms relatively easily. Netflix stuck with them through controversy. Sponsors stayed despite criticism. Things faded. But this time, institutional power is involved. This time, the king isn't just disappointed he's acting. He's deploying institutional power.
Harry did manage now to finally bring his children to see his late mother's grave. A very emotional thing for any parent. Not easy, of course. But to put the pictures in social media tells you a lot. So where is the actual story going now? Well, what's interesting is I can tell you that other people over here in the United Kingdom certainly would not be interested in appearing in such said documentary. So this makes a big problem for Harry, because obviously how do you fill the airtime with people with memories? Let's not forget that Harry was a mere 12 years old, but he would have various pictures, perhaps access to video, and all sorts of paraphernalia.
William standing firm matters enormously. Charles taking action matters. The family unified against this matters because when institutions move, individuals feel it. When real power is deployed, people understand they've crossed into genuine consequences. She tested whether the royal family would hold boundaries. They're showing her clearly that they will. The documentary is delayed. Netflix is reconsidering. Deals are falling apart. Music, future projects are questionable. This isn't punishment. This is reality settling in. But this matters beyond just them. This is about what we actually value as a society. This is a test. If royals can lie openly about privacy and we simply accept it, who can we trust? If the dead can be exploited for profit and we just accept that, what's actually sacred anymore in our culture?
Apparently Prince William does not want to go down this particular route and feels enough has been done to celebrate his late mother's life, and he plans to do this privately with his family. That's according to an excellent source. Harry, though, believes that they should have something of a fanfare, not to let the wonderful memory of Diana just slide away after 30 years. And this is apparently the sort of plot as to why he wants to do something. Now, I don't know about you, but this would just look incredibly crass, because unless both brothers agree to speak on camera, it's very much a one-sided story.
If someone abandons their living father, but uses their dead mother-in-law for commercial profit, what does that teach the next generation about what family actually means? Your parents know something about this instinctively. You know something about it, too. There should be lines, things that are off limits, people you protect, even when significant profit is available, moments that aren't for commercial sale. Diana was a real person. Real death, real grave. That's not content. That's not photo opportunity. That's a human being deserving respect, especially after death. That's sacred ground. Her brother understood that completely. William understood that. Royal protocol understood that for centuries. Meghan didn't care because there was money available. That's what haunts people most. Not just the hypocrisy of it all. Not just the exploitation, but the willingness to violate something sacred because profit was on the table. The choice to put money ahead of respect, to put attention ahead of dignity, to put personal gain ahead of basic human decency. Music, some things should be protected. Some people should be left alone. Some moments shouldn't be commercialized. Music, when someone decides profit matters more than respect, someone has to say no. William said no. Charles is saying no. The question is whether it holds. Whether institutional power can actually protect what matters. And that's the bigger issue for everyone. Not just this incident, but whether anything is actually sacred anymore in our society. Whether anyone respects boundaries when money is involved. Whether institutional values mean anything, or if they disappear when profit enters the picture. Previous generations might have handled this differently, might have protected them, might have let it fade quietly. But William isn't protecting her. He's protecting Diana's memory. Charles isn't enabling him. He's limiting him. The family isn't circling wagons around Meghan. Music, they're standing against what she did.
The Mail then went on to report that they did believe this to be all Thorpe, with their diary editor Richard Eden writing, "It is understood to have been taken as they made their way to lay flowers at the grave of Princess Diana." And of course, within hours, predictably, confirmation from their propagandists at People magazine, who tried to paint this as some type of beautiful moment, but within it confirmed that it was indeed Althorpe.
That's the shift. That's why this feels different. That's why people believe something might actually change. Here's the honest truth. We don't know what happens next. We don't know if Netflix actually cancels the documentary or if they cave to pressure later and compromise. We don't know if titles get stripped or if the king decides that's too harsh a consequence. We don't know if this fades away like everything else or if this time is actually different. History tells us the royal family usually protects its own. They circle wagons. They wait it out. They manage the narrative until something else comes along. Music, that's the pattern. But this time might be different. William isn't like previous generations. He's making his voice heard clearly. Music, Charles is making his power felt. There's family unity. Against this, not protecting Harry and Meghan, but protecting Diana's memory, protecting what actually matters. Maybe this time is different. Maybe someone will actually hold them accountable. Maybe profit won't win for once. Maybe consequences will actually matter when institutional power is deployed. Or maybe Netflix negotiates a deal in 6 months and the documentary launches anyway, music, and everyone moves on. Maybe time softens the story. Maybe something else captures attention. We don't know. The story isn't finished. But something shifted. Even if consequences fade, even if she issues a public apology, even if Netflix works out a compromise, the truth is documented. Everyone Music knows the record exists permanently.
Exactly. I'm the woman that your mother sent you to marry. I'm embodying her spirit. It's all just
So wrong.
kind of ooky. But the other thing about the Althorp's visit, Dan, is that they're not particularly close with Diana's brother. He did get married in the States, and they were not there, nor do I believe they were invited.
The question now isn't whether it happened. The question is whether it actually matters, whether it changes anything, whether accountability holds, or if money wins again. Will institutional power protect them? Or will accountability finally mean something? That's what we're waiting to see. The grave visit exposed everything. William's taking a stand. King Charles is deploying real power. Netflix is reconsidering deals. But the bigger question remains. Will accountability actually hold this time? Watch these videos on screen to see what happens when an institution finally decides consequences matter.